welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
You sent over some really interesting material, this article, looking at, 11 of the top performance testing tools.
That's right. Quite a list.
Yeah. So our mission today is basically to unpack that for you, pull out the key stuff, and, give everyone listening a clear picture of this area without getting totally bogged down in the weeds.
Exactly. Think of it as your quick guide. We're taking that 11 best performance testing tools article and just boiling it down to what really matters for understanding how to make sure software, works well.
Right. And just to make sure we're on the same page, when we say performance testing, we mean checking things like speed, how quickly it responds, if it's reliable, how much resources it eats up, and if it can handle more users.
Scalability.
Yeah, scalability. It's all about finding those bottlenecks before users run into them. Making sure the experience is smooth.
Crucial these days. User patience is pretty thin.
Totally. And this isn't some niche thing anymore, is it? The article pointed out the market size over $1 billion back in 2022.
And projected to hit, over $3.6 billion by 2028?
Yeah, more than tripling. That really says something about how important this stuff has become.
It absolutely does. That kind of growth isn't just, random. It reflects the massive pressure for software to just work flawlessly. Slow or buggy apps, they just don't cut it anymore.
No way.
And catching problems early saves, time, money, and protects your reputation. That user experience is everything.
Okay, so thinking about actually using these tools,
Yeah.
The article makes a good point. You can't just, pick one out of a hat.
Definitely not.
There's a whole checklist, what are you testing?
Yeah.
Web, desktop, something specific like Citrix or SAP.
Right. The protocol support is key.
And then, the obvious stuff, license cost.
Yeah.
But also, what does your team already know? Is there training involved?
Mm-hmm. And what hardware or software do you need just to run the testing tool itself? Plus, vendor support, updates, it all adds up.
It really does. It's about finding that right fit, not just the tool with the host features on paper.
Precisely. You got to think through those factors first. It narrows down the options pretty quick. Not every tool works for every situation. Your environment, your specific testing needs, that guides the choice.
Okay, cool. So let's dive into some specific tools the article mentioned. First one up, Tricentis NeoLoad. The article actually calls this a top pick. Sounds promising.
Yeah, that's a strong endorsement. What stands out with NeoLoad, I think, is its focus on continuous performance testing. Meaning integrating testing throughout the development cycle, not just at the end. So you test early, test often. It's like catching a small problem before it becomes a disaster.
Gotcha.
And features like browser-based testing, automatic script updates, that helps keep up with how fast web apps change, right? You're not constantly rewriting tests.
Oh, definitely. And it mentioned user experience testing, actually simulating real user actions. That feels really important. It's not just about hitting the servo hard.
Exactly. It's about understanding the actual user perspective.
Yeah. And integrating with dev tools helps make that continuous testing idea actually happen. Plus, codeless setup for test design. That sounds like a big time saver.
It can be, yeah.
And dashboards for insights, broad protocol support, web, mobile, APIs, SAP, Citrix. Seems pretty versatile.
Yes. The article highlights its end-to-end load testing solution as a major pro. You get that big picture view.
But there's always a but, right?
Well, yeah. The article notes limited scripting language support. So if your team has very specific needs or needs deep customization with, say, Python or something else, that's something to, check.
Good point. And pricing. Looks like a request to quote situation.
Standard for enterprise tools. But they do have that 14-day free trial.
Always good to test drive it first.
Yeah.
Okay, next, Apache JMeter. The big draw here is free performance testing tool, open source.
Always appealing, isn't it? JMeter's big strength is its versatility. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife, especially good for website load testing. And it can handle analyzing results from tests on multiple services at once, which is great for complex systems. The article also specifically calls out its strength with Java-based applications.
Right. So if your team knows Java, you can really dig in and customize it.
Precisely.
And even though it's free, the feature list is pretty solid. Zero coding needed for basic stuff, flexible schedules, quick problem detection.
Yeah, simulating lots of users, realistic scenarios.
Yeah.
Those are core requirements.
And it can vary test data automatically, handle dynamic responses. It sounds quite powerful. Plus, cross-platform, Java customization, and huge protocol support. Citrix, web stuff, SAP.
When you say web stuff, you mean things like HTTPS, right? The
Like,
standard communication
well,
protocols.
exactly, yeah. HTTP, HTTPS, OBA, REST APIs, all that jazz.
So, yeah, the pros are definitely its end-to-end capabilities and the deep analysis you can do. But the article mentions a potential con, limited integration with third-party tools.
Okay, so maybe harder to plug into your existing monitoring dashboards or reporting systems.
Potentially, yes. It often highlights that trade-off with free tools, you know?
Hmm.
Huge power, maybe more DIY required for, like, fancy reports. Paid tools might package that reporting more neatly.
Right. And pricing, well, free.
Yeah.
But you request a quote, probably for support or enterprise stuff, like you said. Now, there's also a bit of expert insight here.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned JMeter's good for straightforward testing, especially Java apps, but reporting is maybe weaker.
Yeah, that's kind of the gist. JMeter is incredibly powerful, super flexible, especially if you're okay getting into the configuration details. But getting those results into a um, easily digestible report for, say, management, that might take extra work, maybe pulling data into Grafana or something.
Okay.
For simpler tests, though, or the Java-heavy shops, it's fantastic.
That makes sense.
Good.
Okay, next tool, smartmeter.io. This one's positioned as user-friendly, has a recorder, good analysis.
Yeah, that user-friendly angle is often a big draw. The scriptless scenario design using the recorder can definitely lower the barrier for people just starting out with performance tests.
Right. Less coding needed up front.
And things like advanced reporting, a GUI for real-time tests that suggests a more visual, maybe intuitive way to see what's happening.
And it integrates with CI/CD pipelines.
Yep, continuous integration, continuous delivery. So you can automate performance checks as part of your build process, which is, best practice these days.
Definitely. And it supports common protocols, HTTP, JDBC for databases, LDAP, SOAP, FTP. Pretty standard stuff.
So the pros, performance and load testing, user-friendliness, real-time monitoring, all good.
But the con mentioned is a steeper learning curve. That feels a bit odd next to user-friendly.
Yeah, it does seem contradictory, doesn't it? But maybe it means, like, getting started is easy with the recorder, but mastering all its advanced features and really understanding the deep analysis it offers, that takes more time and expertise.
Okay. So easy entry, but mastery takes effort, like many things.
Pretty much. The basics might be simple, but leveraging its full power requires digging in.
Got it. And pricing here is clearer. Starts at $39 a month. So a commercial tool, but with straightforward plans, unlike the quote-based ones.
Right. More predictable budgeting there.
Okay, before we wrap up the tools, the article quickly touches on the different types of performance testing. This feels pretty fundamental, right? You need to know what you're testing for.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Load testing, stress testing, endurance spike, volume, scalability. They all answer different questions.
So load testing is normal conditions.
Yeah. Expected user load. How does it behave day to day? Stress testing is pushing it till it breaks. Find the limits.
Okay.
Endurance.
That's testing over a long time. Is it stable? Any memory leaks?
Right. Spike testing. Sounds like sudden bursts.
Exactly. Like a flash sale on an e-commerce site. How does it handle sudden, massive surges in traffic? Very important for some businesses.
Totally. Volume testing. Is that data?
Yep. How does it handle large amounts of data in the database, for example? And scalability testing checks if it can handle growth, more users, more data, or shrink efficiently if needed. So knowing if you need to test for, say, a Black Friday spike versus just steady endurance makes a huge difference in your strategy and maybe even the tool.
Absolutely. You tailor the test to the risk or the requirement.
Makes sense. And the article wraps up the benefits. Efficiency, consistency, scalability testing, good coverage. These tools automate a lot and give you confidence.
That's the goal. Automation saves time, ensures tests are run the same way every time, and lets you simulate scenarios that are hard to do manually.
Okay, so just to recap for everyone, you sent over this article on the 11 best performance testing tools. We've dug into a few key examples. Tricentis NeoLoad, Apache JMeter, smartmeter.io, looking at features, pros, cons, pricing.
And we talked about those crucial factors for choosing a tool and the different types of performance tests you might run.
It's interesting seeing the range, isn't it? From the big enterprise solutions like NeoLoad to the powerful free option like JMeter to something aiming for user-friendliness like smartmeter.io.
It really underscores that there's no single best tool. It's about the best fit for your specific situation, your team, your budget, your application.
Right. So here's something to think about, a final thought. We see software getting more complex, user expectations constantly rising. How do you think testing itself, the strategies, the tools need to evolve in the, say, next few years, the bar just keeps getting higher.
That's a great question. I think we'll see more intelligence built into these tools, maybe using AI or machine learning to analyze results more deeply, perhaps even predict potential bottlenecks before they happen during testing.
Hmm, interesting. Smarter testing.
Yeah, and maybe even automating some optimization suggestions based on test results. And the focus will likely shift even more towards that end-to-end user experience, not just raw server metrics. It's always got to come back to the user.
Definitely something to watch. So perhaps take another look at the tools that caught your eye today. Or maybe research those testing types, load, stress, spike, to see what really applies to your situation.
Good next steps.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We really hope it gave you a clearer map of the performance testing tool landscape.